Hello everybody and welcome to the first episode of Season 3 here in the Everton FC 26 career mode. In this series it is my goal to turn Merseyside blue, bring Everton back on top of English football as well as putting them on top of European football also. And in Season 2 we took a massive step towards achieving the goal of this series as we did win Everton's first league title in 40 years as well as winning the League Cup only a few months before it. A very famous League and League Cup double. I was extremely happy with it. A Champions League quarter-final as well. Listen, for the Toffees' first time playing in that tournament for quite a long time, I think that was a very, very good campaign. But of course, the ultimate goal is to win the Premier League, the FA Cup and the Champions League in the same season, becoming the first team from Merseyside to do so. And I really do feel like here in Season 3, if we play our cards right, we can definitely achieve that. So this is how the starting 11 is looking coming into this third season, lads. And to be honest with you, I know I said this as well at the end of Season 2, I'm very happy with the position that it's in. And my main focus will be on bringing in some better backups for each position. There are certain positions that I think are okay, but there's one or two positions where I feel like we could do with some more solid choices off the bench and even in the reserves as well. As you can see here though, a couple of players did come back from their loan spells. Some of them, lads, I am just going to sell. Others I think can be decent squad players, but there are a lot of them that will be on the chopping block. But when it comes to the starting 11 itself, of course we did have a poll on the channel recently about what will go down as my most controversial signing of all time if we are to make it. But not only that, there is also a player here in this starting 11 that I'm actually willing to part ways with. I'll talk a little bit more about that in a second, but right now I want to show you who I have currently on the transfer list and my thoughts behind who I will end up bringing in to replace these players. So these are the players that I have on the transfer list here for Season 3. Some of them are actually decent enough players. One or two you might be slightly surprised with, but that's why I wanted to give my explanation behind why I'm thinking of getting rid of certain players. So first of all, we have Dragowski here. Listen, I think his beautiful beard made me want to sign him more than his goalkeeping stats. He only actually played one game for us. It was an FA Cup game against Brighton where, I'll be honest lads, he was absolutely atrocious. Listen, a player can have a bad game. Plenty of players out there have had bad debuts and ended up becoming really good players. But it did make me think about, you know, if Jordan Pickford got injured or if there was an unexpected event where we had to get rid of Jordan Pickford, would I feel comfortable having Dragowski there to replace him for as long as we might have to, you know, wait to bring in another keeper? And the answer was no. So for that reason, Dragowski is on the transfer list. Also here, Federico Lanzalotta, a third choice keeper we brought in as a free agent. Listen, this is more just about getting him off the books. We're not going to receive much money for him. And we have brought back our young youth academy goalkeeper in Harvey Hobson. I think he'll be a very solid third choice goalkeeper. Then we have Jesus Arzoko Shikite. Thank God I'm not going to have to keep saying that name. He was another free agent we picked up in Season 1. Barely played him, to be honest. 76 rated at 25 years old. I just don't think, if, again, kind of similar to Jordan Pickford, if anything were to happen to Jared Branthwaite, I don't think I'd feel comfortable having Shikite as the backup. So he's going to be sold as well. But hey, at least we know we're guaranteed a profit with this one. Got him on a free, and we should get roughly about 7 or 8 million for him. So I think that's actually a good bit of business. The next player here on the chopping block is Cesar Araujo, yet another free agent we brought in for some squad depth. I think he might have made one appearance in the League Cup last season in like the third round, so he's not somebody I really had any desire to keep. We should be able to get maybe 2 or 3 million for him. Armstrong has returned from his loan as well. I think he was at Rayo Vallecano last season on loan, so he'll come in as a solid third choice CDM, and Araujo is somebody we can sell for at least, yeah, I would say at least maybe 2 or 3 million. Maybe slightly more if we're feeling pushy when somebody comes in with a transfer offer. Up next then we have Brazilian right midfielder Cerezo. I was actually tempted to keep him, but then we did have another youth academy player out on loan who returned with a pretty decent rating who I think actually will surpass Cerezo. And there's also somebody on my shortlist who I think wouldn't even come in as a decent backup player. I think he could challenge to be a starting player on the right hand side. So for that reason, Cerezo is going to be sold. As you can see here, we do already have an offer from Udinese. I will obviously go in and negotiate that. 10 million is a decent offer, but I might try and get it closer to what the chief executive is saying here with that 14.6 million maximum deal. So hopefully we can get as much out of this as possible. He did okay when he came in. I always knew he was going to be a short-term backup for Akliush, so he came in and served his purpose, and now we'll be able to get a decent chunk of change for him. This was one of the toughest decisions I had to make in this series so far in terms of Carlos Alcaraz. Lads, he has been an extremely solid player for me. I mean, if they ever made Metal Gear Solid 6, Carlos Alcaraz could star in it because he's been that bloody solid. But he's in a very, very weird position where he's too good to be a backup player, but he doesn't fit the system well enough to be a starter. I don't want to have to change my system just to get him into the team. He's worth about 30 million. I've got some options on the shortlist that I could get in for relatively cheap to replace him as in terms of being a backup for Kobe Manu. Nearly forgot his name there for a second. Carlos Alcaraz, I just think is a bit wasted here on our bench. Listen, he's been a very good impact player off the bench, but when it comes to changing his position, it just takes him too long to become any of his secondary positions. Centre midfielder takes about 5 years, striker is like 6 years. It doesn't really give me the option to change him to a right midfielder or a left midfielder. And I know it's a visual thing, but I just feel like he's better suited elsewhere as a starter. If this was nearly any other series, I would be going out of my way to get Alcaraz into this team. But I just feel like he's just so wasted here. He's not getting enough game time. And for that reason, I think we're better off cashing in on him and bringing in a more suitable backup option for Kobe Manu. We then move on to Facundo Calidio. I've honestly, the whole time I've had him at the club, I've never actually learned how to say this man's name. I do apologise to him, but listen, I'm not going to know how to say it for much longer because he is on the transfer list. Solid backup option, maybe not as solid as Carlos Alcaraz. He'd be more like Otacon than he would be Snake. If you know, you know. But listen, he was an okay option off the bench for the first couple of seasons. I just think in terms of what I want this team to achieve, we're better off selling him, bringing in somebody a bit higher rated to be a backup striker. But listen, he was a decent option while we had him, so thank you for your service, but it is now time for him to leave the Hill Dickinson Stadium. Right, so I did negotiate with Udinese in terms of the sale of Cerezo. I'm an idiot though, and I had my microphone muted, so yeah, my apologies for that. But basically, we were able to get to an agreement of 12.5 million. Now, the deal hasn't gone through yet, but I already know who I want to replace Cerezo with, and that is this man right here, Argentine winger Juan Carlos Luna. 19 years old, currently a free agent. He plays right wing, but can play striker, cam, and right midfield as well. You've probably guessed it, lads. This is Lionel Messi's regen. And listen, when he's a free agent, it would be rude not to. And look, I haven't made too many of these signings. I've signed a couple of, lower rated free agents for squad depth, but I haven't really gone for a superstar free agent, to be honest, in any series I've done for quite some time. So this is quite a rarity. So let's go in and approach to sign him. We don't know what his rating is yet. Can I just say about that as well, lads? That was a stupid decision for me to make at the start of this series. I wanted to try something different. I turned off the ability to see players' rating at the beginning of the career mode. I'm never doing that again. It's too stressful. I don't like it. It was a very silly decision for me to make. But look, it is what it is. Let's go in and negotiate here with Luna and his agent. I'm going to risk it here, and I'm going to say rotational squad role. Let's see if that's something that he'd be willing to accept. Oh, great. Yes, he is. Okay, I had a feeling he was going to want important, but I didn't want to guarantee him, a starting position just yet because Akliush will be ahead of him, but I'm very, very happy to see that he's accepted that 5-year deal. Listen, we're not going to be doing another 5 seasons, but I still like to get the maximum amount out of these players. We'll disregard the release clause, and thank goodness he has come to us with the wage and has given us or has told us, I should say, what he wants. I'm dealing with a bit of a sore throat as well at the moment, lads, so sorry if if my pattern of speech isn't as great as it normally is. But 40.5 thousand a week, a signing on bonus of 380k, and an appearance bonus of 400k if he reaches 10 appearances. I'm just going to slightly trim some of these things down. I'm going to I'm going to bring this up to 20. I'm okay with giving him the appearance bonus, but I want it to be 20 appearances. And then when it comes to the wage and signing bonus, the wage is fine. I'll bring this down to 325. As you can see, we're not exactly struggling for money, but still, I always kind of like to have the final say here. Will he be happy with that? Yes, he is. It's not quite what the lad was hoping for, but he's keen to join the club, and 40.5 thousand a week will settle the deal. Bloody hell, I'd love to have that in my own bank account. But anyways, Juan Carlos Luna, the Lionel Messi regen, is now an Everton player. Let's welcome him here to the training ground, where he'll be greeted by the assistant coach. JJ looking well there. If you know, you know. Is it going to do that stupid cutscene now where the manager comes in? Oh yeah, look. Nice to meet you, bud. But I'm just playing Angry Birds on my phone there. I'll be with you there in a second. There's a dated reference. But no, I'm very happy with this bit of business. Hopefully that Cerezo deal will come through. And he'll go over to Udinese. And Luna, given the number 29 shirt for now. Not sure if I'm going to keep that shirt number. But he is now an Everton player. So I've been talking quite a bit about the controversial signing that we're going to be making in this transfer window. But what I didn't tell you, lads, is that we actually might be having a bit of a controversial departure here in this transfer window as well. Thierry Barry, 24 years old, 85 rated. He's developed quite the partnership with Kai Rooney. But with all that said, Thierry Barry is being added to the transfer list. Hear me out. As I said, we're making a big controversial signing. I get that it's not going to be everybody's cup of tea. And it kind of feels a little bit wrong if I make that signing and I don't have a big departure to go with it. Now, it's two completely different positions. We're signing a right back and we're selling a striker. But when it comes to Thierry Barry, he's done really well, but there have been certain big games where he's gone missing. I didn't actually think coming into this series he was going to be one of my main strikers. I thought eventually he was somebody I was probably going to move on relatively early in this series, but he exceeded expectations, he deserves a lot of credit for it, and he's been a lot of fun to use. I just kind of fancy a change. I kind of feel like Kai Rooney could do with the change as well. 88 rated now with potential to be special, that's absolutely sensational. And I kind of fancy bringing in maybe a left-footed striker. And there's somebody who I've always loved using in career mode that I've never once used on the channel that I could get for a fraction of the price that Thierry Barry is worth. Because this man is currently worth 103.5 million. So I reckon we could get upwards of 140, maybe even 150 million that we can bring into the club. We can get his replacement for a fraction of that price, and we'll still have plenty of money left over to bring in players in other positions. So for that reason, Thierry Barry, thank you for your service, but I will be looking to move you on here in this transfer window. So while we're awaiting offers for the players that we have transfer listed, I was actually thinking of maybe doing a swap deal here to bring in a new backup goalkeeper. As you can see here, we have plenty of keepers shortlisted. A few of them were actually more as first choice keepers just in case Jordan Pickford's rating started to go down. That's why we have the likes of Chevalier, Kohler here, who I believe will be the Ter Stegen regen, Joan Garcia too, who's moved to PSG in this career mode. That's why the likes of those goalkeepers were shortlisted. Everybody else is here basically to be a backup, and again, some of them I won't get their ratings back for quite some time, which is why I think I'm going to pull the trigger here on Dean Henderson. He's worth 17.5 million at 82 rated, but he does have 1 year left on his contract, which means we could get him for about 14 million. So you know what? I'm actually going to approach Crystal Palace to get Dean Henderson, but I'm going to try a swap deal. I'm going to include Drakovski in the deal. He's worth about 8 or 9 million. So hopefully Palace will be willing to accept that, and they might be willing to bring down the price here for Dean Henderson. So let's go player swap. Excuse me, player swap. Drakovski there, 8.5 million, and they're saying about 14 million. So I'll offer this plus. I'm not going to go 5 on the dot. I'm going to be a little bit stingy and I'm going to say 4.8. So let's see what Glasner has to say about this. I think Drakovski could suit Crystal Palace quite well. They want 8.2 million. Wow. So they're looking for still a little bit below the value, but not quite, not enough under the value for me to accept it. I'm going to say 6.4. And let's see if they're willing to accept that. 7.3. Okay, they're negotiating more than I was expecting. Let's call it a flat 7, and I'll be more than willing to accept that. What do you say, Glasner? Come on. You've got a man with quite an amazing beard. That should be enough. But no, they've accepted that. That's a more realistic offer, they say. Bloody hell. What is it with realism? If people have been watching this channel long enough, they should know realism is not something I always aim for. That's something that I think I've made quite clear with a lot of my series. But Dean Henderson is definitely a signing that I think makes a lot of sense. Listen, he's Premier League proven, 82 rated. He's got experience winning trophies as well. Obviously an FA Cup winner with Crystal Palace, so I do think this signing makes a lot of sense. Let's go and negotiate though with the former Manchester United goalkeeper. He's happy to be a rotation player, unlike his time at Old Trafford. So that's something I'm very happy with. He's willing to take a 3-year deal. Wow. Normally players at 30 don't want to take deals as long as that. I'll see if I can make it a 4-year deal. Again, I'm not planning on doing the career mode for that amount of time, but I don't know. I just like to get the longest possible option out of each player. Let's disregard the release clause, and they're asking us for the wage. So he's on about 57,000 at the moment. I'm willing to give him a little bit of an increase. I'll give him 65,000 a week. He is joining a Champions League club at the end of the day who have just won the league. And I'll give him a nice little signing bonus as well to sweeten the deal. Is Dean Henderson happy with that? Yes, he is. We've got our new backup keeper. Drakovsky will be joining Crystal Palace. I think this is a decent deal all round. And welcome to the Hill Dickinson Stadium, Dean Henderson. We get an offer here for Carlos Alcaraz. Now, I'm not sure how I feel about selling him to a Premier League team, especially Arsenal, who were in a very, very good title race with us last season. Yeah, I'm not sure about this one, lads. Ideally, I'd like to sell him to a team outside the Premier League, but I'm willing to negotiate with Arsenal if they're willing to pay even more than that 40 million. We get an offer here for Facundo as well from Leeds. They're saying that we could get up to about 16.9 million, but I'm actually willing to accept that 15.5. So it looks like he'll be going to Ellen Road. And let's negotiate here. Carlos Alcaraz, will he be going to the Emirates Stadium? I don't think... Listen, I can almost guarantee they're not going to accept this, but I'm going to ask anyway. 50 million. If I'm going to be selling him to a rival, 50 million is what I would want. Is Eddie Howe willing to accept that? No, he's not, and I can't say I'm surprised. And Cereso's deal has gone through. He will be going over to the Italian league to play for Udinese. Best of luck to him. Didn't really have a long spell with us. Played a couple of games where he did okay, but I really do think that the Italian league probably suits him down to the ground. So yeah, best of luck to him in his new adventure. Right, lads, it's time to finally get into it. The most controversial signing ever made on the channel. Trent Alexander-Arnold coming to Everton. Okay, so I feel like I need to talk about this a little bit just before we make this signing. Listen, I've said it time and time again, lads. I don't aim for ultra realism in my career modes. I do like to keep things making sense, right? That is something I do pride myself on. And I've seen mixed reactions to this potential transfer here with Trent Alexander-Arnold coming to Everton. But allow me to paint the picture for you. Trent Alexander-Arnold, listen, came up through Liverpool's academy, boyhood Liverpool fan. For that reason, I get why people are a little bit like, why the hell would he come to Everton? But you have to remember, he didn't exactly leave Liverpool on the best of terms. Even before it had been officially confirmed he was leaving the club to go to Real Madrid on a free, the Liverpool fans made it very clear how they felt about him. And I think that's completely fair. They pay a lot of money to see these games, they get invested in these players. Of course, they are allowed to give their opinion. However, there were times it maybe did cross the line. Like recently, in real life, when Liverpool played Real Madrid in the Champions League and the mural of Trent Alexander-Arnold in Liverpool got vandalised. Stuff like that, definitely, is going to play a key factor in how Trent feels about Liverpool Football Club at the moment. He's gone to Real Madrid here. They've done okay. They lost the Champions League final in Season 2. And I think it's one of these things where he's had his fun, he's had his experience away playing abroad for a massive team like Real Madrid, and he fancies a move back to the Premier League. We played Real Madrid in the Champions League in Season 2. Trent played quite well in that game, and I think he was quite impressed with the opposition he came up against and impressed with Everton's new surroundings in the new stadium. In this universe, Everton have overtaken Liverpool, So why not go for somebody like Trent Alexander-Arnold? And the thing is, lads, that's me talking about the signing in the universe of this career mode. Yeah, this wouldn't happen in real life. But lads, we need to remind ourselves, this is a computer game. This is not real life. If I was doing a career mode series where I had to base everything off of, do I think this would happen in real life? I would get bored so quickly. I mean, on this channel, lads, I did a career mode where I took a team from Canada and put them into the French League, and Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens, GSP and Maurice Richard were all in that team. So if you think realism is still what I'm going for, this probably isn't the channel for you. Like, I know Livramento was suggested as a signing. He's a good player, 84 rated, and he would be a good addition to the squad. But that's all he'd be. I don't get excited by this signing. I mean, people are saying it's realistic. I mean, is it realistic he'd be at Brighton at this stage? Who knows? So that's why I don't pride myself on that. Just think about the narrative of the first Merseyside derby where Trent Alexander-Arnold is lining up for Everton and not Liverpool. And here's the thing, the first game of this season is the Community Shield, where Premier League winners Everton will be taking on FA Cup winners Liverpool. So that is the signing I'm going to make. We did leave it to a vote. At the time of recording, I think it's 65%. Let me just get it here. Yeah, 65% in favour of signing Trent Alexander-Arnold. So for that reason, let's go and bring him to the Hill Dickinson Stadium. So Xabi Alonso has made the journey here to Merseyside, of course a former Liverpool player himself, and he's met up here with Joe Turl to discuss the potential transfer of Trent Alexander-Arnold. So he's worth 62 million, but I was told to pay something between 75 and I think 94 million. So we currently have 128 million in the budget. I'm going to go in with a solid 77 million. 77 and a half. And let's see what Mr. Alonso has to say about that. Okay, so they're not going to walk out because the little sell-on clause box has popped up. So that does mean they'll come in with a counter offer of 93 million. Okay, with a 5% sell-on clause. But the tension isn't very high at the moment, so that's promising. So I'm going to bring this down to 81.5 million. I always like to throw the half in there just to sweeten the deal a bit. And you know what? I'm probably not going to sell Trent Alexander-Arnold, so I don't mind bumping this up to 10%. What do you say to that, Mr. Alonso? No, he's come back and said 93 million again. We're sticking to that as our price. Okay, they drive a hard bargain. Right. I don't really want to pay 93 million. I took a moment to think about it there. I think I've decided 85 million would probably be around the most I'd be willing to spend. I'll keep the sell-on percentage, or the sell-on clause, I should say, at 5%. That's okay. Let's see if this is something they'd be more willing to accept. I really hope they don't walk out of the room. Oh, thank goodness me. He's willing to accept that. The deal for Trent Alexander-Arnold has been accepted by Real Madrid. Oh, lads, we are just moments away from sealing the most controversial signing, probably in Everton history. I really don't think anything else would come close, but here we go. Trent and his agent have travelled back to Merseyside. Of course, he wants to be a crucial first-team player. I think that is absolutely more than reasonable. Listen, why would we bring in an 87-rated player to be anything but crucial? So I am more than happy to give him that. He says a 3-year deal. I'll bump this up to 4. Again, I don't know if it's an OCD thing. I just like to get the maximum amount out of a player. They'll always take a year more or a year less than what they ask for. That's something to note there for anybody who wants to negotiate with the player in career mode. We're not going to give a release clause. This ain't La Liga. You don't need one. Okay, his current wage is £240,000 a week, or whatever that would be in euro. Okay, do I offer him more because he's coming to the Premier League, or do I have to tell him that, look, this is not Real Madrid, you know, we're not worth as much here at Everton? I'm going to offer him, you know what, I'll give him a little bit more than what he's on. 250,000. Listen, I think that's a pretty fair offer. See, because there's so much on this transfer, I'm overthinking every little step of it. If this was Livramento, I wouldn't be overanalyzing this as much as I am right now. I'll give him that. Do I give him a signing bonus? I'll give him a bit of a signing bonus, 450,000, and we won't give any appear. Actually, you know what? Okay, so this is what I've gone with. 250,000 a week, a signing bonus of 450,000, and a clean sheet bonus. I was going to give him a goal bonus. I've given him a clean sheet bonus of 250,000. So he'll be getting, he's basically getting what he's getting a week as an extra payment if he gets 10 clean sheets. So I think that's a nice little lucrative offer there. Let's submit that. Are Trent and his agent willing to accept it? His agent looks a little bit impatient there, but thankfully, it's a reasonable offer. Bloody hell, everybody's turned into Father Christmas. It's such a magical transfer. But Trent Alexander-Arnold is returning to Merseyside, and he will be doing it as an Everton player. But oh my god, is that glitch going to be a bad omen? And he's not getting the superstar treatment here. There's not people lining up to get the autographs. There's no paparazzi around. It's a fairly standard enough cutscene for a transfer, but I don't care. We know what a big deal this transfer is. And there's Jordan Pickford and Kai Rooney. They know what this club is all about. And they're here to welcome their England teammate Trent Alexander-Arnold here to the Hill Dickinson Stadium. I'm not going to lie, I don't know what the name of Everton's training ground is, but it's very interesting. It's Trent on the back of his jersey. They've given him number 4. I'm going to give him back number 66, the number that he wore at Liverpool. But welcome to the Hill Dickinson Stadium, Trent Alexander-Arnold. Oh my god, the tears over at Anfield are probably going to flood that whole street. Okay, so we did receive another offer here for Carlos Alcaraz, this time from Manchester United, who of course I do support in real life. So I'm a lot more willing to negotiate with, I was going to say Ruben Amorim, but clearly he's not at the club anymore. But I'm willing to negotiate with the Manchester United representative here because they're not title contenders in this series. And because I support them in real life, I don't mind doing them a little favour. We took Mainu off them as well, so Alcaraz going there, I don't have a problem with. So I'm not going to ask for 50 million like I asked with Arsenal, but I am going to ask for the 40 million that was suggested. Now, I don't think they're going to accept this, but let's just see what they come back with. Hopefully they don't just walk out of the room. Oh, brilliant. We probably could have asked for slightly more, but Manchester United were happy to accept the 40 million, and Carlos Alcaraz will be going over to Old Trafford. And Carlos Alcaraz will be joining the red half of Manchester as he leaves the blue half of Merseyside. Again, a great player in this series, but I just couldn't fit him into the system, and I just felt like he was a bit wasted here. I mean, if Ruben Amorim was still in charge of Manchester United, I would say that system would probably suit Alcaraz down to the ground with 2 number 10s. But listen, regardless of who's in charge there, I think this is a good move for him. It's a good move for us as well, and now we can go and get in his replacement. Wow, Chelsea have come in with an offer here for Yeremy Pino. We could get up to 128.8 million if we wanted to sell him. But of course, Yeremy Pino is going nowhere, so I'm going to be blocking this offer. But that is crazy to think that we have some players that we could get some serious coin for. And another departure here, Shaqite has joined Wolverhampton Wanderers for 8.5 million. Handy bit of business considering we got him on a free. I mean, I know I keep saying you shouldn't pay attention to the ratings, but how is that not an A? For the simple fact he came in as a free transfer, that should have been an A. And we have gotten an offer for Tierno Barry. Of course it had to be from Arsenal. I was really hoping the likes of PSG or Barcelona or Real Madrid would come in for him. But Arsenal have said they would pay 144.1 million for him. And bloody hell, I said we could get upwards of 140 million. Christ, we could get nearly 200 million for him if we really wanted to. And I do really want to. I just don't want to sell him to Arsenal. So listen, this is a tough call because it's a lot of money, but I'm actually going to reject this because I don't want to sell him to another Premier League team. Now this is more like it. Tierno Barry, the Frenchman, has gotten an offer from the French giants in Paris Saint-Germain. Philogene has gotten an offer as well, which I'll reject because I want to keep him. Tierno Barry, though, could be headed to the French capital. So that's why I haven't made any more signings since Trent Alexander-Arnold. I wanted to make sure we got an offer for Tierno Barry that we could get close to 200 million for, and we can reinvest that back into the rest of the squad. So let's go and negotiate with PSG here and see how much we can get for our French talisman. So, they've initially offered 144. Do I risk it and ask for 200? Just flat out 200? Or do I go closer to the 180, 190? Luis Enrique is still in charge at PSG. I would be happy, even with 190, I would be quite happy. So I'll ask for 190 flat. Let's see what they say to that. That rhymes. Okay, wow. They only want to pay the 144. I mean, listen, it's still a lot of money, don't get me wrong. But I kind of want to squeeze a bit more out of them. Let's go 175 flat. I was going to say 175.5, but we'll go 175 and see if that's a bit more acceptable. And yes, it is. Okay. I mean, listen, I actually would have been relatively happy with 140 before I saw the offers come in, so I can't get too mad at 175 million. Listen, it's a big call. Barry has been an amazing player, but sometimes you just fancy a change in a team, and that's how I feel right now. And we can use the money, well, a fraction of the money, I should say, to replace him and spend so much more money on other positions. I really do think this is... I do think this is a good transfer and a good deal all round. Now, with that said, this could age terribly, and I could end up having egg on my face. But I do think in the long run this will work out. And it has gone through. Tierno Barry has packed his bag, and he will be heading back to his home country to play for PSG. I didn't think I was going to make this sale, honestly, at the end of Season 2. It was somewhere along the way between that episode and this episode, I just started thinking about what I wanted to do with the squad. And if I was willing to let go of a big player in the starting 11, Barry just seemed like the one that made the most sense. We've gotten a huge offer for him. I really do think that in the long run, this is the best way forward, and I'm really excited now to bring in his replacement and spend the rest of that money on improving the backup options for the rest of the team. I'm not surprised they've given us a D here, considering we could have gotten close to the 200 million, according to the chief executive, but 175 million, listen, I don't think that's a bad offer either. So that leaves us with nearly 246 million in the transfer budget. So we have more than enough to get in a replacement and reinvest the money into the rest of the squad. So allow me to show you what I'm thinking here in terms of a couple of new strikers, because I want a backup as well as a new starting striker, and also some of the other positions that I would like to get backups in as well. So as you can see here, we have quite a few strikers in our shortlist. They're all kind of around the 80 rating up to about 85. As I said, I want to get one backup and one starter. The only exception here is Troy Parrott. I had to include him on the shortlist just after that incredible couple of performances for Ireland over the international break. What a couple of games this man had. Maybe I won't sign him in this series, but you can almost bet your bottom dollar that in that Cork City series, I am making it my mission to sign Troy Parrott at some stage in that series, believe you me. But I think in terms of the strikers that we have shortlisted here, Dusan Vlahovic is the man I want to go for to be the new starting striker. This man is a beast in career mode. I have used him in a couple of series in my own time, but I've never ever once used him in a series on the channel. And I just feel like this Everton series would be a great one to break that tradition. He's 85 rated, 27 years old. He's worth 50 million, but they're saying we have a chance at offering around 62.5. So I think that would be quite a good bit of business. So you know what? I'm going to go in for him here, Dusan Vlahovic. Let's bring in Barry's replacement, and then we'll focus on some of the other positions then afterwards. Okay, so 50 million, as I say, is the value. I'm going to offer 64 million to Mikel Arteta. Himself and Eddie Howe, of course, swapped clubs in this career mode, which is kind of funny. So let's see if he's willing to accept this offer here. For the 27-year-old, okay, they've asked for a swap deal. Zakaria Elouadi, who of course is now going to be the backup for Trent Alexander-Arnold, but I have no desire to sell him. So I'm going to go back in with basically what I asked for, but I'll put in an extra 500k. Is Arteta happy with that? Yes, he is. Brilliant stuff. Okay, it looks like we're getting our Barry replacement. But before I negotiate with Dusan Vlahovic, I am actually going to go in and give some offers for other players that I would like to sign. So if we just sort this out here. In terms of a backup striker, we have Kai Rooney and Esteban Lapaul as two right-footed strikers. I'd like to have another left-footed striker as well alongside Vlahovic. So I think we have a couple here in the shortlist. John Duran's probably a little bit too high rated to be a backup. We have this Ukrainian striker here, Vladislav Vanat, I'm going to say. He's worth 22 million, 80 rated, 25 years old. Looks like he could be quite a decent player. How much would we have to pay? Oh, we could pay between basically 25 and 30. Yeah, I think this could be a good bit of business. We have Emega, I want to say here as well. Emeha, however you pronounce that. He looks like he could actually be a very, very solid option. Wow. I'll be honest with you, I didn't actually really look. I was scouting him, so I didn't really look at his stats much after we got the scout report back. It's just kind of stood out to me now. I mean, shooting-wise, it's quite similar. Pace-wise, you'd have to give it to... I'm going to call him EE. There's another Metal Gear Solid reference for people out there. Yeah, listen, he's 3 ratings higher. Of course, he's the better player. Okay. You know what? Yeah, I'm going to give an offer. Why not? Let's do it. I haven't actually learned how to pronounce his name yet, but I will get that sorted if we do end up signing this man. So, I'd be willing to spend in between what they were suggesting, about 45 million. Because, like, he's not going to be the starter, but he is only going to be 2 ratings lower than Vlahovic. So that is something that I do have to keep in mind. He will want quite a bit of game time, but I'm planning on going deep into every competition this season, so I really don't mind giving players a bit of extra game time than maybe I would have in other seasons. So they have responded with one of the most stupid offers ever. They want Juan Carlos Luna, who I've literally just signed, but looking at his market value and what they've asked for, we weren't actually that far off. So I'm going to reject the player swap, and I'm going to go back in here with maybe a flat 47. That was pretty close to what they were asking for, and they're willing to accept that. Okay, lovely stuff. Yeah, I really do think that I want to have a lot of overpowered strikers in this team, because I really do think we're going to need them to get us over the line. So we do need to get another backup centre-back for Jared Branthwaite. Of course, Shakite did leave Everton in this transfer window. So I've gone for this regen here, Frank Valant, I'm going to say. I mean, I do speak a bit of French, so I should know the pronunciation. So for now, I'm just going to call him Frank. But he's worth 19.5 million. They said we could pay anywhere from that and about 27 million. So I'm going to go in here with a 23 million pound offer, and let's see what the Fulham manager has to say. Thank God it's not Tony Khan in here. I feel like that would be not a very pleasant experience. But thankfully, Fulham's representative has accepted it, and we look like we can get this deal over the line. And the final player that I am going to go in and sign is going to be a backup centre midfielder for Kobbie Mainoo. So this is a guy I've been looking at for quite a while, Peter Susic. He's worth 24.5 million, 80 rated at 23 years old. And the best thing is that he's actually a centre midfielder. He's not a cam who's going to have a stupid bloody exclamation mark over his name the whole time he's going to be at the club. And he must have 1 year remaining on his contract, because they're saying we can offer about 20 million and still get the deal over the line. Stroikens was another player I was looking at too. Again, he's a year younger, same rating, probably has slightly higher potential. But to be honest with you, since we're only going for a backup, Susic is somebody who I would be happy to actually go in and get. So let's go and do that. So I've offered exactly what the chief executive recommended, 20.2 million. Oh, and of course they want a bloody swap deal. Joaquin says is somebody who I'm not getting rid of. Very happy with him as a backup option at left back. So let's go in with... I'm going to go in again with a fairly similar offer. I'll up it a small bit just to try and sweeten the deal. Please tell me they're going to accept that. Yes, they do. Susic has been accepted, and I think he'll be a very solid backup there for Mainoo. But of course, now we need to negotiate with all these players. So let's go in and get all these deals over the line. Okay, so we're here with Dusan Vlahovic, who I actually thought was going to give me was going to tell me what he wanted wage-wise. But no, they're actually leaving it up to us. So he's on about 165,000 at the moment. So I reckon we'd probably have to give him a slight increase with that. Newcastle didn't qualify for the Champions League, as far as I remember, in Season 2. So he is going to want a bit of an increase in his wage. I'm willing to give him about 190. So I think that's a nice increase on what he's currently on. And I'll throw in a 500k signing bonus as well. And hopefully he will be happy with that. Yes, he is. Dusan Vlahovic has joined Everton. Oh lads, I'm so excited. You've no idea how much I love using this man in career mode. I can't believe it's taken me this long to actually use him on the channel. Like genuinely, he has been such a gem, and he's getting the superstar entrance that Trent Alexander-Arnold didn't get. But yeah, this man is an absolute beast in career mode. Look, he's a very popular player to use. He is. I'm not saying this is a very unique signing. But you know, you just have those players in career mode that no matter what series you're doing, you just love to bring them in and use them. And I do think in terms of winning not just a Premier League title and Champions League title, but winning a treble, I do think Vlahovic could be the guy to get us over the line. He's been given the number 9 shirt, suits him down to the ground, and I tell you what, he looks good in toffee blue. Welcome to Everton, Dusan Vlahovic. Emmanuel Emeja. I've looked up how to pronounce the name, so I hope I'm getting that right. But to be honest with you lads, I'm probably just going to call him EE. And if you're a Metal Gear Solid fan, you'll probably know why. But anyways, let's get in the backup option for Dusan Vlahovic. I think having EE and Esteban Lapal as the backups is definitely... I'm really happy with that. I definitely think those are 4 very good options to have. And especially then with young Patrick Brodie out on loan, I think we have very solid depth in these positions. Is he going to be willing to take a rotational option though? No, he's not. He wants important. Okay. I can live with that. Because look, as I said, we want to go deep into every competition this season. So he is going to get probably more game time than he would in, we'll say, season 1 if he was a backup striker when we had no European football. So I'm actually happy enough with that. He's happy with the 5-year deal. I'm not surprised about that, so that's perfect. Is he going to give us what he wants a week? No, he's not. Oh, that's so bloody annoying. Right, he's on 92,000 at Fulham. I'll bump that up to 100k. I'll throw in a little signing bonus as well. Again, just to sweeten the deal, and I think that should be enough. Yes, it is. EE is happy with that, and he is going to be a very, very solid option for us off the bench, and he definitely will start a lot of the cup games as well. So this is a very, very good signing for us. Susic, thankfully, was a lot more willing to actually give us an offer. It was still slightly more than I wanted to give him, but we brought it down ever so slightly. But we have brought in a new backup midfielder now for Kobbie Mainoo, so welcome to the club, Peter Susic. Okay, so Vajon is how you actually pronounce this man's name. I had a feeling that was how it was pronounced, but I don't know, I doubted myself for some reason. But I'm probably just going to call him Frank, because I don't know why. It's just a very powerful first name, Frank. But anyways, again, they haven't asked us they haven't told us, I should say, what they want for a wage, but I'm willing to give him 75k, give him an increase from what he was on at Fulham, and again, I'll throw in a signing bonus if the bloody thing will allow me to, 100k up front. I'm sure that's something that he'll be very happy with. Yes, it is. So we've gotten all these deals over the line, and the squad is definitely going to be in a very, very healthy position at the moment. Lads, I am so happy with the position this squad is in right now. You have absolutely no idea how excited I am to get into this 3rd season. And the thing is, it's not even because we've made loads of changes to the starting 11. We've made 2 big changes. Vlahovic has come in for Barry. Trent has come in as the new right back. But for me, the big difference between Season 3 and Season 2 is the squad depth. Every player on the bench is at least 80 rated and has room to grow. And then when you look at the reserves, we have so many options that if we do pick up an injury or 2, it's not going to make a massive difference. Okay, there might be 1 or 2 players on the slightly lower side of things, but with the exception of Max Aarons, they're all quite young and they do have room to grow. So I am extremely happy with the squad depth. The only transfer I'm still tempted to make would be a better backup for Jake O'Brien. Ethan Mpadu is a decent option to have in the squad, but maybe I go for somebody, again, kind of similar to Jared Brantwaite, who has an 80 rated backup player, and we do have about 70 million, I think, left in the budget. So if there is any player you think that you'd like to see me sign as a backup for Jake O'Brien, then please do let me know. But lads, that will do it for this transfer edition of the Everton FC 26 career mode. Tomorrow, Season 3 officially kicks off with its first game as we take on Liverpool in the Community Shield in Trent Alexander-Arnold's first game as a toffee. We haven't lost a single game to Liverpool in this entire series, so hopefully that trend will continue in tomorrow's episode and we can pick up a nice bit of silverware to kick off the season. But lads, if you did enjoy this episode of the Everton Career Mode, please do hit that like button. Consider subscribing to the channel as well if you're excited about this third season. We are on the road to 800 subscribers. I would love to hit that before the end of the year, and I will talk to you all in tomorrow's episode where hopefully we can take down the red half of Merseyside. Have a good one and take care.